Let us now quickly revise Accounting Standard 22, which talks about taxes on income. When we talk about taxes, what we actually talk about is direct tax, that is income tax, because it is tax on income. It's not tax on goods and service, which is our GST. This standard comes because the profit that we compute as per Schedule 3 read with all the accounting standards is different from the profit that we actually compute based on the provisions of Income Tax Act 1961. When we have two different profits, we have a question mark as to tax rate should be applied on which of the profits to book which of the taxes as expense. Now, if the question is which of the profits are right, is the profit as per accounting right, or is the profit as per income tax provisions right? Both of them are right under respective provisions, under respective perspectives. From the accountant's perspective, accounting profit as per Schedule 3 read with all accounting standards is correct. As per the tax consultant who knows Income Tax Act 1961, what he computes is correct. What we do is we understand why is there a difference between accounting profit and why is there a difference between taxable profit as per Income Tax Act. Lot of things that you add back, lot of things that you deduct, like expenses not allowed, incomes not credited to P&L but to be considered as income. All these adjustments, what you do know, income tax computation. So those differences we identify. We look at the differences, we analyze those differences. If those differences are temporary and timing in nature, meaning that is the difference which will arise in 1 year, which will get reversed in subsequent year. That's called timing difference. However, if the same difference arises in 1 year, but it doesn't get reversed in the future years, subsequent years, it is forever a difference. That difference is called permanent difference. If there is permanent difference, then taxable profit, whatever is computed as per Income Tax Act, on that when you apply tax percentage, whatever you get as tax, that is the correct tax. That is the tax to be booked as per Income Tax Act. Same should be accepted and recorded as tax expense in accounts also. However, if the difference between accounting profit and taxable profit is temporary nature, meaning it will arise in 1 year, it will reverse in one of the future years, then what to do? Then we would have to book on the accounting profit tax percentage what you get as expense. On the taxable profit, whatever tax we compute as payment, expense and payment will not match. When the expense and payment doesn't match, if the expense is more, payment is less, deferred tax liability. If the expense is less, payment is more, prepaid asset, no, deferred tax asset. Expense is tax expense. Expense is tax expense. That is accounting profit multiplied by tax percentage. Payment is taxable profit as per Income Tax Act 1961 multiplied by tax percentage, which is the amount to be paid. That will be called as current tax. So what is the tax as per Income Tax Act called as current tax? What is the tax on accounting profit called as tax expense? And difference between them will lead to deferred tax asset or deferred tax liability. Let's see some examples. Section 32 talks about depreciation under Income Tax Act 1961, and we see Schedule 2 of Companies Act as well as Accounting Standard 10 to compute depreciation under Statement of Profit and Loss. When we do that, this depreciation will be different. When you do income tax computation, you take net profit as per P&L, you add back depreciation as per book, and then deduct depreciation as per Income Tax Act. So this is a temporary difference because over the entire useful life of the asset, total depreciation will be same. It will be different in individual years, but it will be same. So because of deferred tax, because of depreciation, there will be deferred tax. It's a temporary or timing difference. I'll give you a shortcut to remember later, but depreciation is timing difference. Because of that, there will be deferred tax. Section 43B, expenses allowed only on actual payment. This is another reason for difference between accounting and taxable profit. This is timing difference. We booked some expense this year, we're actually paying it next year. In accounts, on accrual basis, it is this year expense. But in income tax, it is expense in next year because the payment is done in next year. So the expense is expense. In accounts, it's this year, in income tax next year. So 43B creates timing difference. Timing difference means arising in 1 year, reversing in another year. However, what are permanent differences? Permanent differences is cash paid beyond 10,000 rupees permanently disallowed. Excessive payments, 20,000, excessive payment to related party, 40A2 disallowed. So 40A2 disallowance, excessive payment to related parties, or cash payments beyond 10,000, 40A3. These two will be disallowed permanently. These two will be disallowed. Accounts, it's expense. Income tax, it's not expense in this year. It is not expense in next year. It is never an expenditure. Because it is never an expenditure, the difference is always there. Here, we will not create any deferred tax. We will not create any deferred tax asset or liability. Then 40A1 TDS is not made, but the payment is made. That is temporary difference. In accounts, 100% of his expense is in this year. But in income tax, 30% of the expense will be allowed in next year. So that's what we've discussed, whole of it here. Differences. Then I told you three ways to know or identify deferred tax asset liability. See it this way. If in case tax expense is the accounting profit multiplied by tax rate, that is equal to current tax, taxable profit multiplied by tax rate. These both should match. If they don't match, that is because of deferred tax liability or asset. Substitute current tax, substitute tax expense, identify deferred taxes balancing figure. If it is positive, liability; if it is negative, asset. The logic is tax expense is expense, that is on accounts. Current tax is amount to be paid. If expense is more, payment is less, liability. If expense is less, payment is more, asset. Deferred tax asset liability. But the simple shortcut that you can always follow to solve even MCQs on AS22 deferred tax asset and liability is yay. What is it? Yay. AEATEL. AEA. In accounts, if the expense is more, it's asset. Accounts A. Expense E is more, it is asset A. AEA. In accounts, if the expense is more, it is asset. In the tax, if the expense is more, liability. If income is more, that means expense is less. If income is less, that means expense is more. You can apply this shortcut, it will work every case very beautifully. Another point to note, in the current year, if you are able to create deferred tax asset, just check once. Was there deferred tax liability created last year? If in case in this year you have to create deferred tax asset, instead of creating deferred tax asset, you reverse the deferred tax liability which was created in the previous year. And vice versa. In this year, if you are able to create deferred tax liability, if already deferred tax asset exists, you reverse that deferred tax asset instead of creating a deferred tax liability. I hope you understood. Then the next point to note is that there should be reasonable certainty that there will be profit in the future. Then only you will book deferred tax asset. Otherwise, don't book the deferred tax asset. If an entity has brought forward losses and unabsorbed depreciation, brought forward loss means previous year there is loss back to back. There is unabsorbed depreciation, accumulated loss. Then reasonable certainty is not sufficient. You should have virtual certainty. Reasonable certainty is less convincing. Virtual certainty is more convincing. When I ask you, will you come tomorrow 10 o'clock that we will go have breakfast together? You will say, yes, you will come. That is reasonable certainty. I am believing that you will come because you told you will come. What is virtual certainty? Every time you told you will come, you given hand and you not come. So I won't trust you. So I'll say, no, send me proof. Then in a WhatsApp, you send a picture of you dressed up and you're leaving. You send a picture of the auto that you booked, or you send a picture of you being on way. That is virtual certainty. So which is more convincing? Virtual certainty. But usually what is sufficient? Reasonable certainty is sufficient. When do we need virtual certainty? When the entity has huge losses in the past and it has unabsorbed depreciation, then reasonable certainty is not sufficient. We need virtual certainty. And I told you the order of writing the entries. First, we call our accountant, sorry, tax consultant. We'll ask our tax consultant, hey, how much is the tax? He will tell current tax or tax expense. Current tax. For that current tax, I'll create provision. I'll write the entry income tax expense account debit to provision for income tax. This entry is passed by my accountant for current tax. After that, my accountant will introspect, hey, this is not the correct amount of tax. According to me, it should be more, or according to me, it should be less. For example, if he expects more tax as expense, what will he do? He will again debit income tax expense for that. He will not credit provision because that need not be paid. Credit will be deferred tax liability. What if the accountant believes what is already booked as tax expense is more? Then what will he do? He will credit income tax expense and he will debit deferred tax asset. Then coming to payment. If the amount is paid, entry is provision for tax account debit to cash. If it is not paid, then the entry will be no entry. Very simple. Now talking about payment. When we are about to pay, then comes a new section called 115 JB. This 115 JB is an act within an act. This will by itself tell some number, tell some profit, tell some computation, tell some tax. Based on 115 JB, you compute income tax. It is called MAT, minimum alternate tax. It's called minimum money they should be paid. Alternate to normal tax. What we do is, as per the remaining provisions of Income Tax Act, we compute the normal tax. As per MAT provisions, we compute MAT. When we are about to pay, we need to compare both. We need to pay normal tax as per the normal provisions of Income Tax Act, or minimum alternate tax as computed under section 115 JB, whichever is higher. If in case normal tax is more than MAT, then no problem, you pay normal tax. There is no issue whatsoever. No other special journal entry. If in case what you pay becomes MAT is being more than normal tax. So what you do is, you would have already created provision to the extent of normal tax, current tax, debit current tax, normal tax, income tax provision account. Credit bank, debit will be normal tax, credit payment bank account will be MAT. Excess that you paid will be debited by name MAT credit, minimum alternate tax credit. MAT credit is an asset. I'll repeat, provision that you created for current tax, let's say is 100, MAT became 120. You debit provision for income tax 100 debit, credit bank account by 120. Difference of 20 will be debited to MAT credit account. This is an asset. In the next year, if normal tax is more than MAT, then you should pay normal tax, but you will not pay normal tax, you will pay MAT, and this difference between MAT and normal tax, you will reverse the MAT credit created last year. Next year, let's say normal tax is 140, MAT is 120. You should pay whichever is 140, but you will pay minimum 120. 20 MAT credit recorded as asset last year will be credited. Same case, what if your MAT becomes 150? Sorry, what if your normal tax becomes 150 and MAT is 120? You need to pay whichever is higher, 150. Can I pay minimum 120 and reverse MAT credit? Yeah, but MAT credit available is only 20, no, from last year. So 150 has to be paid. In that I'll avail 20 MAT credit. So I'll pay 130. When I pay 130, it is still over MAT, but I cannot create MAT credit here. MAT credit will be created when I pay MAT more than not. Are you getting it? Alternatively, MAT credit available 20 from previous year, year 1. In year 2, MAT is 120. Normal tax, let's say, is 125. Can I avail 20 MAT credit and pay 105? No, I should pay minimum. How much? 120. Instead of 125, I'll pay 120. Only 5 MAT credit is available. MAT credit available 20, but what could be available now is only 5. 15 MAT credit will be continued to forward to next year. I hope you all understood. Again, MAT credit is an asset. To record MAT credit, there should be reasonable certainty that in the future years your normal tax will be more than MAT. Only then you can avail. And I've explained the MAT credit concept to you. If there is no future certainty that normal tax will be more than MAT and you can avail it, then whatever you pay MAT amount, book it as expense. Book that as expense, include it in your P. I hope you all understood. Then the last concept that is there and tested in your CA intermediate advanced accounting syllabus is tax holiday. What about tax holiday? For startups, our income tax department allows certain years as tax holiday. During these years, you will earn profit, but you don't have to pay tax. During these years, you will earn profit, but you don't have to pay tax. 10 years, 5 years, 5 out of first 10 years. They say it is your choice. You can pick any 5 years. Can it be first 5? Yes. Can it be second year to 6th year? Yes. Can it be 6th year to 10th year? Yes. But it has to be consecutive. During this period, though you earn profit, you don't have to pay tax. So what is it to do with regard to accounting standard 22 on accounts? The point is impact of deferred tax on this tax holiday. It's like this. Let's say first 5 years is tax holiday. You created deferred tax liability in first year. You created deferred tax liability in second year. Year 3, 4, 5, deferred tax liability is getting reversed. In that case, whatever deferred tax liability you created in year 1 and year 2 is getting reversed in year 3, year 4, year 5. Why do you create deferred tax liability? Why do you reverse deferred tax liability when it is all in tax holiday, when you actually don't have to pay? AS 22 says create deferred tax liability only if it gets created in tax holiday and it gets reversed after tax holiday. If deferred tax liability gets created in tax holiday and gets reversed within tax holiday, don't create. Let's say first year you are supposed to create DTL of 200. Second year DTL of 100. Third year, fourth year, fifth year, TTL of 50, 50 is getting reversed. So third year 50 will get reversed, fourth year 50 will get reversed, fifth year 50 will get reversed. 150 DTL will get reversed in year 3, 4, 5, which is within tax holiday. So in year 1, when you are about to create 200 deferred tax liability, don't create 200. In 200, you deduct 150 and only create 50 deferred tax liability. So one-liner explanation of DTL with tax holiday is, to the extent deferred tax liability gets created and gets reversed within tax holiday, don't create only. Now don't ask how do we get to know. I'm not speculating profit. I know the pattern of expenses. Depreciation expense, temporary difference. I know how much will it be for next 5 years. This is with regard to accounting standard 22, a real quick revision. I hope this was helpful.